Feeling unseen can be one of the quietest emotional experiences because it rarely announces itself. It does not arrive as conflict or rejection. It shows up as a subtle sense of being overlooked, passed by, or quietly placed at the edge of attention. When you feel this way, it is natural to assume something is wrong with you. But the angels say this feeling is not a flaw. It is information. This experience is real, and it matters. It is not sensitivity taken too far, and it is not imagination filling in gaps. When the sense of being unseen appears, it usually means something within you has shifted. You are no longer the same person who once fit easily into the space you are standing in. And growth often happens before the environment knows how to respond. The angels say you are not unseen because your value diminished. You are unseen because the setting around you no longer reflects who you have become. This distinction is important. One suggests lack. The other suggests transition. And transition can feel uncomfortable precisely because it happens between recognition and realignment. When you outgrow a space, the familiar signals change. Feedback becomes quieter. Attention fades. What once felt mutual begins to feel one-sided. This does not mean you are failing. It means the mirror you are looking into no longer shows you accurately. Many people respond to this feeling by trying harder. They explain more. They adjust themselves. They increase effort in hopes of restoring recognition. But the angels say this instinct misunderstands the message. This feeling is not asking you to prove yourself. It is asking you to notice where you no longer belong energetically. Being unseen is not the same as being invisible. Invisible implies absence. Unseen implies misalignment. You are present, but the space cannot fully register you anymore. And no amount of effort can fix a mismatch between who you are and what the environment is designed to reflect. This stage often feels confusing because nothing appears obviously wrong. There may be no argument, no ending, no clear reason to leave. Yet something inside you knows that you are no longer being met where you stand. That knowing is not impatience. It is awareness. The angels say awareness arrives gently. It does not push you to act. It simply shows you the truth of your current position. You may notice that you feel smaller in places where you once felt expansive. You may notice that you hold back parts of yourself that used to come naturally. These are not failures. They are signals. When growth occurs, it rarely announces itself with certainty. It first shows up as discomfort with what used to be enough. This discomfort does not mean you should reject your past or judge your current surroundings. It means you are moving through a threshold. The angels remind you that growth often separates before it connects again. There is a moment when you no longer fit the old form, but the new form has not yet appeared. This is where the feeling of being unseen lives. It is not a destination. It is a passage. If you are feeling this now, you are not behind. You are not missing something everyone else understands. You are simply becoming aware that your energy has changed. And awareness is always the first step of realignment. This feeling does not require urgency. It does not demand action today. It asks for honesty. It asks you to stop assuming that lack of recognition means lack of worth. The angels say your worth has not gone anywhere. Only the context has shifted. For now, noticing is enough. You do not need to explain yourself more clearly. You do not need to shrink or perform. You only need to allow the truth of this feeling to exist without turning it into a judgment. Being unseen is not the end of visibility. It is the beginning of clarity. At this stage, many people mistake alignment for withdrawal. They assume that stepping back means giving up, losing momentum, or becoming less engaged. But the angels say alignment is not retreat. It is recalibration. It is the moment when you stop expending energy in places that no longer reflect you. When you feel unseen, the impulse to push harder is strong. You may feel tempted to clarify your value, to speak louder, to show more. But effort cannot repair misalignment. The angels say effort strengthens what already fits. When something no longer fits, effort only creates exhaustion. This is why pushing rarely restores visibility. It only deepens the sense of being out of place. You may notice that the more you try to be understood, the less understood you feel. This is not resistance from others. It is a signal that your inner position has changed. Alignment begins when you stop asking, "How can I be seen here?" and start asking, "Where does my presence feel honest?" This question shifts everything. It moves you from reaction into clarity, from chasing recognition into choosing coherence. As alignment grows, subtle changes follow. You explain less because you feel less need to justify yourself. You perform less because you are no longer trying to earn space. You listen more closely to your internal responses instead of external feedback. This is not detachment. It is discernment. The angels say discernment often looks quiet from the outside. Others may interpret it as distance or disinterest. But inside, something important is happening. You are learning where your energy is welcomed without negotiation. This process can feel uncomfortable because it removes familiar reference points. When you are no longer trying to adapt to every space, some connections naturally loosen. Some roles feel outdated. Some expectations fall away. This can feel like loss, but it is actually simplification. Alignment does not demand dramatic exits or sudden changes. It unfolds through subtle refusals. Refusing to shrink. Refusing to over-explain. Refusing to stay where your truth feels muted. Each refusal strengthens your inner stability. As stability increases, something else becomes clear. Visibility is not something you force. It is something that responds to congruence. When who you are matches where you are, recognition happens naturally. When it does not, no amount of effort can create it. The angels say this is why trying harder often backfires. It keeps you anchored to spaces that cannot meet you fully. Alignment loosens that anchor. It does not push you forward. It allows you to stand correctly. There is often a pause here, a space between old visibility and new recognition. This pause can feel empty, but it is not. It is a moment of recalibration. Life is adjusting its angles around you. In this pause, patience matters more than action. The angels say rushing to fill the gap only recreates the old pattern. Allowing the gap gives clarity time to settle. Clarity is what reshapes your direction. As alignment deepens, you may notice a quieter confidence emerging. Not because you are being seen more, but because you are seeing yourself more clearly. This clarity reduces the need for external confirmation. Eventually, new spaces begin to respond. Not because you announced yourself, but because you are no longer hiding parts of yourself to fit. This is how real visibility returns. It is not louder, it is truer. The angels remind you that alignment is not about finding better validation. It is about finding the right resonance. When resonance is present, recognition follows without effort. This is the middle of the transition. You are no longer where you were, but not yet where you are going. And that is exactly where alignment does its work. As this transition completes its inner movement, something settles quietly within you, not as certainty, but as steadiness. The angels say, this is the moment when visibility stops being something you seek and becomes something that follows naturally. You may notice that the need to be acknowledged softens, not because it no longer matters, but because it no longer defines you. When alignment takes hold, self-respect replaces urgency. You are no longer waiting to be seen in places that require you to shrink. This is where the shift becomes embodied. You stand differently. You speak with less explanation. You move without checking how you are perceived. None of this is defensive. It is simply grounded. The angels say grounded presence carries its own visibility. When you stop adapting to be noticed, the right spaces begin to respond, sometimes quietly, sometimes unexpectedly. A conversation opens with ease. An opportunity feels natural instead of forced. A relationship meets you where you are instead of where you used to be. This is not coincidence. It is resonance. The angels remind you that real visibility does not come from effort. It comes from integrity. Integrity means you are no longer divided between who you are and how you present yourself. When that division heals, your presence becomes clear to others without announcement. You may still pass through moments of uncertainty. That does not mean alignment has failed. It means you are human. But beneath those moments, something stable remains. You know you no longer need to compete for space. You know you no longer need to explain your worth. This is where patience turns into trust. Not passive waiting, but calm confidence. The angels say trust grows when you see that life responds differently once you stop forcing fit. Doors do not need to be pushed when you are standing in the right place. As this clarity settles, you may feel a sense of quiet relief. The pressure to perform lifts. The tension of comparison fades. You realize that being unseen was never a verdict. It was a redirection. Now, visibility returns in a new form. It feels cleaner, lighter, more mutual. You are not trying to be understood. You are being met. And that difference changes everything. The angels say, this is how transition completes. Not with a dramatic ending, but with a subtle sense of rightness. You do not announce your arrival. You simply belong. From here, you move forward without shrinking, without forcing, without waiting to be chosen. You are already standing where your truth can be recognized. And that is enough.